Hi there, this is Allison with Let's Go Travel Tips. Today we have an awful lot to talk about again. I've got a lot of updates with what's going on in Alaska on some different cruises, as well as COVID health protocol updates for sailings from the United States and Canada, for sailings from the UK, and sailings from Europe. And they're all dated today, May 6th. And a lot of it has to do with what the changes are that the CDC announced yesterday afternoon, as well as just a few other tweaks that I think will be really good for you to know about, and some other things to talk about as well. So first of all, I would like to welcome all of our Let's Go family members. Thank you very much for your wonderful support and for being here with us. Also, welcome to everyone who is new. We're really glad that you're here. If there's anyone who hasn't subscribed yet, would you please subscribe to our channel? We'd love to have you with us, and I think that it will really help you out to stay up to date with everything that is going on with the protocols and onboard ships and just everything that you kind of need to think about if you're traveling these days. So first of all, I want to just circle back for just a moment to our discussion yesterday that we were talking about how quarantine is being handled on a lot of the ships, what we are hearing from a lot of passengers as far as not great communications, some other things like that, and the discussion that kind of ensued, not only what I said, but also in the comments. And so I just have two thoughts on this. First of all, the first one is, I think it's just up to everybody. You know what, you will just have to decide what you're going to do. And I think we can talk about it a lot, but I think it'll be a different thing when we're like actually presented with that situation in our life to decide if we want to be tested or if we want to wear our mask and stay away from people, just how we want to handle that. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think that's an individual choice. I looked through, you know, when you go on the Princess Medallion class app, they have a little thing that they have you attest to. They tell you, advise you of the risks of cruising, that you could catch COVID or something else. And I looked, and they don't have a place where they make you promise that if you think that you might have COVID, that you promise that it will be tested. And so I don't think we're breaking a rule. And I would also like to say that, like where I live here, so many people are coming down with colds right now. I know a lot of people who have been tested for COVID and they don't have a cold. They don't have COVID. They have a cold. And so I am to the point now that if I have a scratchy throat or a runny nose for a day or two, I think I caught a cold. I don't think that I have COVID. And so I think that also informs our decision, knowing that there's so much other things going around. My first thought is no longer COVID. And so there's that. And then also, I am putting together a plan for when we go to Europe, that if one of us does test positive for COVID, like what we're going to do to get home. And so I have received wonderful, wonderful experiences and information from different Let's Go family members that I think are really, really helpful and will just help us know, because I think that all of us, if we're going to go somewhere, you've got to know what you're going to do in the worst case scenario type thing. Like if you test positive, what you're going to, like how you're going to handle it so that you can finally get on a flight back to the United States. So I'll plan to talk to you about that tomorrow. And then as I learn more, I'll share it, but I'll definitely tell you that tomorrow. I'll have it put together. Now, I want to talk to you about the COVID health updates and what the CDC is saying. So for those of you who are new to kind of following what's been going on in cruising, the CDC directs a lot of what the protocols are. Well, pretty much all of the protocols for what the cruise ships are required if they do sailings out of the United States right now. So the major cruise lines that we have been really thinking a lot about during this whole cruising restart for sailings out of the United States, we've got like Royal Caribbean, we've got the Carnival Corporation cruise lines, so that would be like Carnival and Princess, Holland America. We've also got Norwegian, and then MSC is becoming a bigger player in this market as well. And so these cruise lines are obliged well, they were in the beginning they were obliged, and now they have agreed to follow along with what the CDC says. For a long time, the CDC was saying that if these cruise ships were going to be sailing, and they were going to be to the point where you didn't have to have quite so many protocols, you had to have at least 95% of your passengers and at least 95% of your crew fully vaccinated. And so we have been really used to that. We've seen those in the protocols, and it just meant that you had 5% that the cruise lines could give exemptions to. And so that included everyone who is eligible for a vaccine, so 5 and up here in the United States. If a child was under 5, they didn't have to get an exemption, and they did not have to be included in that 5% because they're not eligible, because there's not a vaccine available to them yet. And so yesterday, the CDC announced that they are now allowing that classification to have 90% of the passengers vaccinated. They still require 95% of the crew to be vaccinated. Just based on everything that I have read, everything that I have heard, I think that all cruise members are vaccinated. Just putting that out there. But now they're going to allow, instead of just 5% of the passengers on board to not be vaccinated, 10%. And that literally doubles the number of unvaccinated people who will be on a cruise ship. And so I know that people have varying opinions. They think maybe everyone should be vaccinated. They think no one should have to have a vaccine. I am someone that it doesn't bother me at all if I'm on a cruise ship with people who aren't vaccinated, because I've chosen to be vaccinated. I have a booster. We're going to get our next booster any day now. And so it doesn't bother me because I've taken all the precautions that I know how to take in my life, and I can decide to wear a mask if I want. And so that's kind of where I stand. I would love to hear in the comments what you all think. And so that change is going to affect the protocols on some of the cruise lines. And so I'm going to talk to you today about Princess. And then either later today or tomorrow, I'm going to go live and just answer a whole bunch of questions, because my email is just so overwhelming these days, and a lot of them I keep seeing the same questions again. And so I thought it would be a fun thing just to have one where people can ask their questions and we can go through a bunch of things. And so just wanted to let you know that, and I am still replying as quick as I can to everybody. So first of all, we're going to talk about sailings from the United States and Canada, because we've got so many people on those sailings right now. I know in the Let's Go family, it seems like predominantly now I'm hearing from people who are going on cruises to Alaska. I'm hearing only from 1 or 2 people who are going on sailings from the eastern coast of Canada, as well as a few people who are going to be going on sailings in Europe, and so in the UK. So first of all, let me just tell you on these on the COVID health updates here, they have started to represent that they are just going to go ahead and have 90% of the passengers vaccinated. And they also point out that the testing is not changing with this update. With the update, people don't need to change their testing. Still, if you are just sailing from the United States and you're going out of a port in the United States, you get to have 2 days if you're vaccinated for your antigen test, 3 days for your PCR test, and if you've got your booster, you can have 3 days for your antigen test and 3 days for your PCR test. If you're not vaccinated and you're being allowed on these cruises, you've got that exemption, you get 3 days for a PCR test. I do want to point out that if you are actually sailing from Canada, that window is much tighter. You need to have your antigen test in 2 days, and you need to have your PCR test in 72 hours. And I think the hours surely must matter, so pay attention to that window. The next thing that I think is really important on these sailings from the US and Canada to take note is that for a long time, we were hearing that if you were going to be coming back to a port in Canada, mainly Vancouver, disembarking, and you were going to fly home to the United States or wherever your home country is, that Princess would supply that test. And now they're not. A couple of you have been so kind to send me the notice that you received, but they are not doing that anymore. They say that you're going to have to get your own test. And so I'm going to link below my video about getting tested at the Vancouver airport, because if I were going to be disembarking in Vancouver and trying to get a test to come back to the United States, I would either get tested at the Vancouver airport, which before you go through security, they have 3 different testing locations. And our amazing Let's Go family member, Irish in USA, they're up on the Royal Princess right now out of Vancouver. And she told me that it is super slick. They manage it so smoothly there. You get yourself an appointment so that you've not got a long wait. And I looked just before I did this video, you can go on and get an appointment to be tested at the Vancouver airport anytime you want. And that includes way far out. So see what time you're going to need that test and go ahead and get it scheduled. And just remember, if you missed my video yesterday, you're probably going to want to go watch it, because there is so much information there. But the Vancouver airport is having huge security delays. People are reporting 2 hours standing in a line for security. So plan so much extra time to get through that. The other thing that is really important that I would do is take with me those eMed tests, the Abbott laboratories. You can order them from eMed, you can order them from Optum, but you can do it before you disembark the ship with the internet and just do your test, and then you've got your result and you don't even have to worry about it. I think that those tests are going to become bigger and bigger players as we travel and as testing is required for cruising. And I don't know how long testing is going to be required. I think it's really interesting that they have changed the requirement to downgrade a little bit how many people have to be vaccinated, but they aren't changing a testing requirement. And so we'll just keep our eye on that. But I wanted to make sure that everybody is really clear on that. Another update here, let me make sure that I tell you here. Everybody is talking about that ArriveCan app and that you do need to do it. So if you think you don't need to do it, you do need to do it. And we've got a little bit of information from other people. And then this is also a reminder for anyone that gets an exemption to go on any cruises out of the US and to Canada. They also talk about, once again, how the ports sometimes require that you be vaccinated or tested. And so if you're going to be tested before you get off of a ship, they're going to charge you $10 for each test. That's their onboard cost, they say. And so they want to just make sure that they are able to recoup that. A really interesting thing, though, is in the testing section, they have a part under the unvaccinated section that says testing on board every 4 days, and that is $10. You know what? I read through the whole protocols and I cannot find a requirement to be tested every 4 days. And so if any of you are on any of these cruises and you have an exemption and you have to be tested every 4 days, let us know. And I'm going to keep an eye out for an update about that. But I have not seen anything about that up until this point. And so those are the main updates that we have got for sailings from the US and Canada. They are very similar for the other two, with a little bit slightly different. So let me tell you here, for sailings from the United Kingdom, I found it very, very interesting that on their protocols, you know how on the other one it took us down to 90%? On the sailings from the United Kingdom, they're still going to have 95% of the people on board vaccinated. And so I don't know if that's a requirement from the United Kingdom and Europe or what, but it says 95%, or maybe they're going to update them and it was a typo, but I would think that they would be very careful with these. And so that's just a thing to note. Another just reminder, I keep telling people I so don't want anybody to fly over to the United Kingdom. Remember to check, you've got to have a vaccine that you've gotten within, you've got to have gotten your main vaccines within the last 9 months or 270 days, or you have to have a booster, or you have to have an exemption. So please remember that. I'm really just worried about everybody with that. And that goes into effect tomorrow. So today is Friday, May 6th. It says that as of May 7th. So that's tomorrow. And they are keeping their testing requirements the same. If you're vaccinated, you still get 2 days. If you've got your booster, you still get 3 days for your antigen. And then either way, whether you're vaccinated, whether you're boosted, and whether you don't even have a vaccine, you've got 3 days for your PCR. Now, they are also still pointing out that they've got $60 US is how much the testing will be at the terminal there. And then you really need to pay attention because they are also, let me find it here. let's see. If a negative COVID-19 test is required for re-entry into your home country, Princess will cover the cost of the test, provided that guests can show proof that their flight arrangements are the same day as they disembark the ship. Guests will need to make their own test arrangements if onward travel is not the day they disembark. Okay, so we're going to have to do that. I have checked. Heathrow Airport does have testing available. We've got a Let's Go family member who has used it, and it worked just fine. And so have that in your back pocket just in case they run out of tests, or if you're going to stay a day or 2 or 3, however long. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you about is the changes on the sailings from Europe. They've made something a little bit easier. Now, on these sailings from Europe, they are also still saying that 95% of the passengers have to be vaccinated. They also are pointing out they have loosened a little bit. Well, here, let me tell you this first. Remember, if you're going to Europe also, you've got to either have your vaccine within 9 months, or you have to have a booster, or you have to have an exemption. So just remember that. And I will also add, it doesn't matter how old your booster is. They do not have a 9-month rule for having gotten your booster. I don't even know. I don't know. I can't remember if boosters were available 9 months ago. But if you have a booster, you're good to go. It doesn't matter how old your booster is. But just remember that if your vaccine's older than 9 months, you've got to have that booster or an exemption. And really nice thing that has changed just to make it easier for people is that you just now need to have your COVID test within 3 days of embarking at European ports. This is with Princess, and I know that it's the same on some of the other cruise lines. So if you are embarking on a Princess cruise in Rome, Copenhagen, Barcelona, those 3 ports, then you get to have 3 days. If you are embarking on a cruise from Greece, you still need to do that COVID test within 1 day. That is a requirement by Greece, and it says they understand that at that port, they understand that it might be hard to get that within 1 day, so they are going to offer complimentary testing at the port if you're embarking on a cruise in Greece, which reminds me, if you're embarking on a cruise in like Rome, Copenhagen, or Barcelona, they'll have testing available at the port for $60 US. If you need that, it'll be at or near the port. They also say that if you are fully vaccinated and you have been tested, but you haven't gotten your test results back, you can show them that at an embarkation and your proof that you have been tested, and they will provide a test for you at or near the terminal, is what they say. Okay. Alrighty. And then also for these sailings from Europe, they will also provide a test for you at disembarkation if you can show that you're going to be flying home that day and you need a negative COVID test to get to your home country. So those are basically what our COVID health protocol updates are. I think it's just really important that we stay on top of them so that we are prepared when we go on a cruise. And I will let you know how all of that works in person when we get to go on our cruise at the end of the month. Today, we're like 22 days away, everybody. Okay, so now I want to share with you just some information that we've gotten from some people on ships and that I think will be really helpful for you. So first of all, Nancy S. of Michigan and her husband were so kind to send me an email, and they are on right now. They are on the Royal Princess up in Alaska. They are on the cruise that departed on May 2nd, and they were so kind to let us know they took that shuttle, that transfer from SeaTac up to the port there in Vancouver, and gave us some really great information. They said that they flew in the night before, and they went back to the airport the next morning to get on that transfer. So they got to the baggage claim area there at SeaTac where you're supposed to meet. They got there at 7:20 a.m. because as we found out that the shuttles were supposed to go from 8 to 10 is when they would be going to go. They found out that only one shuttle was going to be required for how many people have signed up for that transfer. And so it was there weren't going to be a whole bunch of shuttles running, and so that one was just going to leave not going to leave until 10. They said nobody showed up for Princess until 8 a.m. They checked their name on the list and told them all to come back at 9 a.m. when they would start boarding the bus to be able to go and wait just for the rest of the people to show up. He said it took 2 hours to arrive at the Canadian border. They're from the airport, and they arrived there at Douglas Peach Arch, and then about a half an hour to clear customs. The driver had them fill out paper custom declaration forms while they were on the bus. You get off the bus, walk through customs. He says they did not ask you about the ArriveCan app because when they ran it, they could see it attached to your passport. And I thought it was interesting. He said they questioned us why we used separate ArriveCan apps and accounts, when you can just add family members to the same app on one account. But he said it was okay because when they scanned his wife's passport, they could see her ArriveCan app as well. And he also pointed out that there is a bathroom break there. Once you walk through on the Canadian side of the building, there is a nice place to go to the restroom. And he said it would have taken you much longer if you would have driven yourself because the bus can use the HOV lane. And he said that there were traffic backups in the car lanes there at customs. Finally, he said travel into Vancouver from the border there took longer because you're using surface streets. They arrived at Canada Place where the port is at about 1:30 in the afternoon. And so I guess that whole trip was about 3.5 hours. Canada Place was hectic and seemed confusing sometimes with mixed directions in the terminal. But he recalled that this is the first sailing of the Royal Princess again after, 2 years of not sailing. And he said that they were also boarding a Norwegian ship at the same time, and they still boarded at about 2:10. So I guess about 40 minutes to get on board. Right now, the Royal Princess has 1,648 guests with 1,050 crew members, and they said that the breakdown is about 750 Canadians and about 750 Americans, and he said it is really nice to cruise with such nice people. And so thank you so very much for this update. I really appreciate it. It really helps people know what to expect. So thank you for taking the time on that. I also have an update from Terry. He so very kindly let us know they are also on the Vancouver, and I just love, see, several of you are on the same ship, but y'all tell me different things. And so thank you. It really helps cover everything for everybody. So thanks for taking your time away from your cruise, everyone. They said that they stopped in Juneau, and it says several shops were closed and empty stores, which they expected. And that's how it was when we went last August. We were surprised that I think it's going to take a while to get all of those shops filled up again and get everything open. He said they did wear their masks in Skagway. They went on the train ride and they did wear their masks per Princess's request, not the train's request, but Princess asked it, so they did it. He said that it was just so beautiful. Just snow, just absolutely beautiful on the train ride up there. He said most of the shops were open in Skagway and had a really good lunch at the Skagway Brewing Company, which he would highly recommend. Everyone, he said all of the people they have met were so excited to have passengers back in Alaska. People are so excited to get their business going again. They have had some excursions canceled. The tram was not running, and anything that started in Haines was canceled because if you had to ride the ferry, because apparently all the ferry drivers were sick. And I don't know what they had, but they were all sick. And so none of the excursions from Haines went. I know that is really hard on Princess to have to cancel so many cruises. And it's really hard for the people that work those excursions too, because that's how they earn their money. And if you want to see a fun video, last year when we were in Skagway, we took an excursion from Haines and it was amazing. Like, hands down recommend that. And so see my video about that. We'll link that below for you as well. The next thing that I need to let everybody know about is, let's see, where were we? Sorry, I'm trying to keep all of Alaska together. Okay, then our Let's Go family member also let us know, and I really appreciate it. She sent us an update that she got because they booked their cruise through Costco, and it says, please be advised that due to operational considerations, the Discovery Princess will now depart from Seattle at 3 p.m. rather than 4 p.m. than previously scheduled. All guests must now be aboard by 2:30 p.m. As a result, as a result of this change, our embarkation flight guideline at Seattle has changed. The latest flight arrival time in Seattle is now noon. And I'm just going to tell you, anybody flying in at noon is daring, because you just never know. If your flight gets canceled or delayed, you are just stuck. And so I would put that out there, just a reminder to fly in the night before. And if you have to fly in the day of, get like the earliest flight that you can. And then it says, if you already booked a flight that will leave later than noon, we recommend you rebook your flight to an earlier arrival time. We understand that you may incur unexpected expenses for air change fees or an increase in air costs as a result of this change, and you can submit to Princess for them to cover that for you. And it's just www.princess.com/refund-request. And so thank you very much. That's an update for the Discovery Princess, and the way that it was worded, I just thought I would let you know. Maybe it's for the whole entire season. The people that sent it to me are going on a cruise on August 14th. So just a heads up about that. Alrighty. Let's see, I already talked to you, our Let's Go family members. You guys are so good to let us know that they're no longer doing that disembarkation test there in Vancouver. And then we've got Irish in USA. She and her husband are on the Royal Princess right now as well. And she just sent me a fast email to let everyone know, and including all of you who are on the ship, that they are offering perks if you book a future cruise while you're on the ship. And so just a heads up to let you know. Yeah, isn't that great? So when she gets back, we'll be excited to hear what the perk is. But I'm really excited because we were wondering what you get. And so it's good to know that you get something. Alrighty, so we've got 3 other important things right here. So one of our Let's Go family members, Kathy, they were scheduled to go May 22nd on the Celebrity Eclipse Alaska cruise, but apparently Celebrity canceled that because there's too many barnacles on the ship and they've got to go to dry dock. And so they scrambled and booked the Koningsdam on Holland America for May 21st through May 28th out of Vancouver. And if anybody has anything extra to add about sailing in Alaska on Holland America that would help her, anything extra on the Koningsdam, I know that she's a beautiful ship. She's one of their big, beautiful ships. Well, I don't think they have any that aren't beautiful. But anyway, if any of you have any tips that you would like to share about sailing Holland America to Alaska, will you please put that in the comments or send me an email and we will share that, because I think that'll really help her. Also, we have Vilma. She was so kind. They got off of the Ruby Princess. They were on her from April 23rd to April 30th. And she said that when they were on the ship that they did wear their mask in crowded areas and on the elevator. And she said that everything went really smoothly with having your ArriveCan app done and having your form that you needed to fly back into the United States. Everything went really smoothly, and that makes me really happy. So I am glad to hear about that. And also we have another Let's Go family member, Sharon. Thank you so very much. They just arrived home for being on the Koningsdam to Alaska there. And so if you've got anything helpful for us, Sharon, just let us know. But she was saying that they had done, of course, the ArriveCan app at embarkation, but when they were on the ship coming back into Vancouver, they had to do the ArriveCan app a second time because they were coming to Vancouver, and they had to sign a paper attesting to the fact that they had done the ArriveCan app a second time, and so that they would have everything ready for disembarkation. So just a heads up about that. I'm really excited to hear, like the Royal Princess, when y'all get back to Vancouver, if you have to do that. But I think it's worth noting that you might have to do that as you disembark in Vancouver. You remember yesterday I had asked if anyone knew if you could pre-book the dinner show. And so Doreen and Ed were so kind to reply and say, yes, you can pre-book that dinner show in the tour part of the website. And so if you're not familiar with that, you know how once you book your cruise, you can go in and look at your excursions and everything for your cruise. If you also have a land tour, there's a land tour part of that. And you can go in there, you can book your excursions that you want to do at the lodges, things like that. But they also have it available for you to pre-book that dinner show. And so be aware of that. And I also really appreciate, she added, that they upgraded the Denali tour from natural history, which is 4 hours long, to the Kantishna, Kantishna experience, which is 11 hours, She said they saw so much more with that experience, well worth the extra money. And she said if she had it to do all over again, she would upgrade it again. It was that much worth it. So I think that is very useful information. And she said on their first trip to Alaska, they went on the Wilderness Tundras tour, which was 8 hours. And she said that Kantishna experience even blew that tour away. So it sounds like maybe it is one of the very best tours up there. So I thought that might come in handy for you who are thinking of going to Alaska on a land tour or actually have one booked. I know that I am making a note of that for when I get to go on a land tour. And so I think that we will end here. We have covered so much today. Let me know if you've got any questions. I would love to hear from all of you in the comments about what your experiences are right now. If you've got anything to share, if anyone is sailing in Europe, I would sure love to hear from you all about that, and as well as Alaska and any of you on a Caribbean cruise or a Mexican Riviera cruise right now. There are really helpful things going on board on all the ships, as well as a lot of fun things. And then I hope that we can share some really fun things, because sometimes I know that I get so serious here because I get so worried to make sure everybody knows what to do so that you can get on the ship and enjoy your cruise. And so I just wanted to let you know right now for Rome, I am just going through all of my excursions again, making sure I am pleased with everything that we've got. I've been doing some research about seeing things in Rome that I haven't seen before, trying to decide what to do. And so we'll nail that down and tell that all to you again really soon too. So you'll know where we are. There's no big changes from the video that I did the other day though. Yeah, I just need to finish thinking about a couple of things. But anyway, to me, it is really fun. And so I appreciate all of you sticking with me here. If you appreciate these updates, would you please give this video a thumbs up? Let me know what you think about the CDC loosening that number of people who aren't vaccinated on the ships as well. I think that would be fun to hear. And so I'll be talking to you all again really soon. You all take really good care. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.